Adjunct Professor Moran, Macroeconomics 111. We're going to start a unit on international economics, and we're going to begin this concept with comparative advantage. Some topics in economics are both macro and micro. This is one of them. Comparative advantage, when you're discussing trades between individuals, is a microeconomic concept, but when you're discussing why countries trade between each other, it's a macroeconomic and individual. Comparative advantage is going to lead us to the conclusion that both individuals and countries should specialize, and as a result of specialization, they'll produce so much more than they could if they tried to produce everything they needed, that they will be able to trade with other countries, and as a result end up with more of both goods than if they tried to produce those goods on their own. So when you specialize, you'll increase the productivity of your own resources. You're going to produce what you're better at, and it's going to result in an increase in the amount of goods and services that could have been produced separately. With individuals, it's considered, if you've ever heard the expression, a jack of all trades versus master of none. So each country should try to specialize in what they are very good at. For an individual, there's no time wasted between tasks. So Adam Smith used the example of a pin maker. So if you try to make pins by yourself, you have to fire up the furnace, you have to get tin, smelt it, then you have to turn down that workstation and pull the tin out into a long, thin bead, then close that workstation, then you have to cut the long, thin into individual pieces, and then you have to go to another workstation and poke eyes in the needles. And in the meantime, all those other workstations are idle, and you're wasting time between tasks setting up each successive workstation. In addition, specialization will allow you to increase output greatly, and as a result, you can buy more expensive specialized equipment. The more expensive specialized equipment will be viable because you will spread the increased cost over much more units of output, making it cost effective. When nations specialize because resources are not equally distributed to each country. So each country should specialize in the resources for which they possess. Just to give you a broad overview, the major trading partners of the United States are the European Union, China, Canada, Mexico, Japan, Germany, South Korea, United Kingdom, and France. Okay. So, what does China export? China exports manufactured goods. Right? They have an abundance of unskilled labor, textiles, garments, and electronics, and they also exclude weapons. Canada, another of our major trading partners, produces machinery and equipment, automotive products, General Motors and several plants in Canada, metals, plastics, forestry goods. Right? They have a lot of natural resources as well as capital equipment, fishing products. Mexico, another trading partner. It's no surprise that two of our three major trading partners are on our borders. Mexico produces machinery and transportation equipment, minerals, fuels, lubricants, food, and live animals. Again, they have a lot of natural resources. Countries are specializing in goods for which they have the resources. Japan, a very small country, but you can see it's a major trading partner. Japan produces vehicles, computer parts, chemicals, scientific instruments, and watches. Japan doesn't have a lot of natural resources, but they have a lot of skilled labor. So they specialize in things that require skilled labor. Yeah, we'll do one more. Germany. Germany, again, has a lot of skilled labor. So they will be producing and exporting motor vehicles. Right? VW, Audi, BMW, Mercedes, electrical machinery, and metals. So, United States, we export the United States, since we have a lot of resources, we export computers and electrical equipment, right? Things that require skilled labor, vehicles, chemical products. We have a lot of natural resources. We also provide food and live animals, and military equipment and aircraft. We produce a lot of military equipment and including civilian aircraft the United States produces. Because we have a lot of resources, we can export a lot of things. Alright, so now there are two concepts involved in this. One is absolute advantage and the other is comparative advantage. Absolute advantage is which country, given the same resources, can produce more of a good or service. Trade will not be based on absolute advantage. Instead, trade will be based on something called comparative advantage. Instead of just against straight up how much you can produce with certain resources or which country has a lower cost, we're going to be trading based on comparative advantage, which is trade will be based on the lowest opportunity cost. A country will produce the good for which they have the lowest opportunity cost. That means you allow a country to produce something whereby you lose the least amount of the good that is not produced. In these problems, we're going to assume countries can produce only one of two goods. Alright, so we're going to have an example, a procedure to solve these problems, and do some examples in our next video.